Wow, right on time. Can you hear me there okay, Kevin?
I can hear you, dude. I was here before you. How about that?
I knew you were, but I didn't want to show up too early, man.
Yeah, right, right.
It's such a pleasure to connect. My history goes back to interviewing you about 20 years ago, right before you played Madison Square Garden with Kid Rock.
No
So,
way.
so it's funny to look back and go, maybe things didn't pan out like you thought they were going to be panning out, but now things seem like they're better than ever for Lit.
Yeah, things are going really well. Can't complain. You know, you look at any band's history from Aerosmith, Van Halen, to pretty much any band. There's highs and lows, and we're like a cockroach. We won't go away. So eventually, they just have to accept us.
Yeah, you and Butch Walker have survived how many musical genre revolutions?
Right.
When Lit first hit it, people are kind of going like, are they a pop punk band? Are they new hair metal? What is this? And then
Right,
you
right.
evolved a bit.
And we listen to all the above.
Yeah, hey, I loved the Atomic record.
Thank you.
I kept up with Lit over the years, and we've seen the sound change, the genres change, and all that. The last album had more of a country vibe. This new single, Yeah, 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 is kind of back to the basics in a great way.
Yeah.
How do you like to be Lit thought of at this point in time? Do you have an easy way to describe the band?
I don't, but I mean, we're kind of you got four adults, three original members, but you got four adults that have listened to so many different types of music growing up. I mean, from early age all the way to now, we all listen to different stuff. And the fact that we could still be a band and come together and agree on the direction, the music is. But how I want people to see us, you can listen to the Stones, you can listen to Aerosmith. I mean, they've gone off their own little path a little way, you listen to Rocks and you listen to Just Push Play. I mean, very different albums, different. It's going to happen. It's just, it is what it is. I grew up eating cereal. Now I like steaks, it's just, it is what it is.
But
I will agree with you. More than the last album, These Are the Days was more of a brainchild of AJ and Jeremy's. But I will say this new album, and it's tentatively called Tastes Like Gold. I don't know if that's out there yet into the atmosphere, but that's what it's going to be called. I'm really proud of it. It's really, really good songs on there, and I can't wait and to be honest with you, and I don't like lying to people, but yeah is not my favorite song on the album, but a lot of people have been loving it and saying the same thing that you said. It lends itself to the old school Lit in a way, but there are some amazing songs on this new album that I can't wait for people to hear.
Well, to your credit as well, I remember when I had interviewed you about 20 years ago, the Dirty Martini label was taken off. That Handsome Devil was one of the great signings. And you guys then had Danny Walker writing and a little bit on the Atomic album as well.
Yep.
Then, do I remember correctly, you were in Jani Lane's band for a little bit?
I was, yep. But it was around the time Alan, our original drummer, got sick, and we weren't doing a lot of shows. And my buddy Kerry, who's now in Night Ranger, hit me up. Good friend of mine, hit me up and said, "Hey, you wanting to play with anybody? You want to get out and play?" I said, "Dude, I need to play. Yeah, I'd love to get out." And he goes, "Dude, Janie needs a bass player right now." And I was like, "All right, I'll do that." But it was fun because what was fun about it was not only was I playing shows again and playing mostly festival shows, but we were playing with a lot of bands that I grew up on. I mean, I got to open for the original Rat minus Robin Crosby. I got to play with Queensryche when Jeff Tate was still in the band. I got to play with the original Twisted Sister in costume and makeup and everything. And we have a long history with Dee Snider, but it was so much fun. And I've been in Lynch Mob. I grew up around the block from George Lynch. And then just recently in 2019,
Outrocast. So going back, when Lit first came out, people kind of had to hide the Razzle thing. And it was are they a pop punk band? Are they a pop band? Rock? What is it? Is this punk rock? And then we got to see Mulletron in the great Lipstick and Bruises video. You brought out Mulletron to Madison Square Garden, all that kind of fun stuff. And then you've been able to embrace that side of yourself years later. You got to play alongside Queensryche and Lynch Mob and Rat, all these great bands. Going back to that era of Razzle, were you guys almost close to getting signed as Razzle?
Dude, we definitely did some showcases back in the day, but I don't know that we were ready, And although we were doing very well on the Sunset Strip, Bill Gazzari's last prediction, he predicted the Doors, Rat, Van Halen, blah, 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 to make it. We were his last prediction. He died like a week later after he predicted us.
What? So it was Odin, and then you guys.
Yeah. So we got that. I still own the star that he gave us. It's at my house. And then he passed away. And then a couple of years later, we were just getting older, and some of the stuff wasn't as fun as it once was, and things were changing, and we were changing, and then we just kind of got together. We loved each other as a band, but the product that we kind of built up in the band and everything and the brand was just kind of lame in our eyes. So we just went back, started all over from scratch, and we started playing all new clubs. We didn't even touch Hollywood anymore. We just started doing our own thing and started from the bottom again, which was tough because Razzle had a name, and when we played, shows were packed, and it was a lot of fun, but we kind of had to weigh the pros and cons, and we were like, well, do we really want to make it like this, and the answer was no. It didn't fit us anymore, and some people might go, that's lame that you guys did that. Well, it's like when you're young, you play with certain toys, and as you get older, you buy, an Atari or whatever, and you start playing different video games, and then you graduate from that. You just start doing different things in life, and that's what we did, and I think we've been true to ourselves because we're still just a rock band with melody lines, and we still like great hooks and great riffs, and we still like rock and roll music. I mean, that's what we grew up on. But now, we broadened our musical taste, we like all kinds of stuff. And so we pull from a variety of things. So it is what it is. If you're on board, cool. If you're not, whatever, it's fine. We're big boys. We can handle it,
Yeah, well, we talked about your new single, Yeah, 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 before, and how there's more music coming. But another big deal is that the 4-part podcast series that you have about My Own Worst Enemy, you get some of your old peers talking about it. It's not just dudes talking about a hit song. It's really an exploration to the whole thing. I haven't had the pleasure of listening to it yet, but the first time I ever heard My Own Worst Enemy, which was about a month or two before it hit, I got an advanced CD. Hey, review this. Oh, this is great. That sounds like Free for All by Ted Nugent, that opening riff. Was that something that anyone said to you in the first year or two of it being out?
I've actually never heard that myself. That's weird. And now I got to go back and listen to that Ted Nugent song. It's funny, when we wrote that song on a cassette tape, I think I wrote it because, it didn't have a title yet or anything. And I just simply wrote Everclear Idea is what I wrote. Because it kind of reminded me of Santa Monica a little bit. But going back on the podcast, dude, I'm not a big podcast listener. And that's gonna like maybe age me a little bit, but I had to listen to ours because I never listened to it once it was done, and they didn't send us an advance listening. It was out for the whole world to hear, and I was like, well, what are people going to hear when they listen to this? Dude, I literally got choked up listening to it because for it to be put together in such a professional way and packaged together, and hearing a lot of our peers and people that worked with us in the past talk about the history of Lit and how many years we put into it, it got me a little choked up. And our manager, Ruta, that was our manager from back in the day, from Razzle days until way after we made it, she's on it. And she got choked up being interviewed, and it's on there. And it got me all choked up. And like, I was at a park with my son was off playing with his friend, and I was listening to it, and my eyes started welling up. I was like, oh my God. But it was pretty cool hearing the story of us making it. It was almost like listening to a movie in a way, they did a great job. And I highly recommend people going in and listening to it. It's really easy to find. It's a fun listen. They make it really fun, and it's a good story,
Yeah. Something that came up before. Lit, pretty much it's the original lineup. It's the best you can do on that end. your publicist, who may or may not be listening to this right now, he was your publicist 20 years ago when I interviewed. We're talking about a song from 1999 that you guys don't hate playing, that, you know, people are still singing all these years later. There's a lot of loyalty and there's a lot of long-term thinking in the Lit story, I guess you can say, per se. When did you kind of realize that it wasn't about, this is the one single, this is the one album, that it was a long-term picture? Did you ever have that moment of realizing that?
No, we don't know any different. I mean, we all do different things. I'm a photographer. So as life goes on and people get married and people have kids and you know, you buy a home and you got a mortgage, your bills are so much a month, and, you know, but we're not always active. So there's always some downtime, you know, and different guys in the band are doing different things. So it's not 24/7 Lit, you know. And right now it is. We're doing a lot of interviews. We're gearing up for this new album cycle, which feels really good. You know, we're finally massaging this album for its release, and it feels really good. But you know, over the years, there was some years where we weren't that active, and so you had to like figure out other things. In 2008, I bought a camera and I kind of started diving into it, and now I shoot all kinds of stuff. It's so weird, man. I shoot for a bank in California, among other things. And I've walked into banks before with my gear, and people, you know, it's Orange County, so that's Lit's home base. And I've walked into, you know, to work, and I'm pulling my gear in and everything. And I've had, like, even recently, a girl walked up to me and she goes, "You're Kevin from Lit, right?" And I go, my hat's on backwards. I'm all, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh my God." She goes, "What are you doing here?" And I'm all, "I shoot for the bank." She's like, "You do?" And I'm all, "Yeah, I'm a photographer. I've been a photographer forever." And so it was kind of cool though, because she's all, "Can I get a photo with you?" And it was just, it's okay. You know, I'm okay with that. I mean, again, I got to stay busy. I got to be creative. I got to be doing stuff, you know? So, but to get back to your question, none of us want to walk away from Lit. We love it. It's something that we put together years ago. And we, now more than ever, we look at each other and we have crazy gratitude for the longevity of this band. I mean, we've been bounced around hard, really hard, and we're still together. You know, we're still doing it, and I love that. I love that we have that story. You know.
Yeah, I like to find out with bands of your nature, of your level, and by that I mean multi-platinum bands whose songs are still playing on the radio. I like to find out, when did you realize that a good move would be to do the weekend warrior thing? Meaning, rather than planning on being on the road for 6 months at a time, it's we'll get a really good Friday and Saturday show at a festival. We'll put it to a Sunday and go home. And then we get to, you know, be home a couple days, come back. What point did that start to happen for Lit?
Man, early on, you know, you start kind of, you start realizing the tour, you know, you do a long tour. And as you get a little older, you're like, man, being out on the road for 4 or 5 months, especially when you have a kid or a wife or whatever, you're kind of like, you can get a little burned out if you keep doing it. When we released A Place in the Sun, we were out for 2 years straight. Yes. I left when I was 26 years old. I recorded the video for My Worst Enemy on my 26th birthday. We didn't get home till after I was 28. And that was fine because I was younger and we were partying and going for it. But then you meet somebody, you get married, blah, blah, blah. And then you start realizing you get these offers. I mean, I don't think it was something that we consciously decided to do. I just think we had nothing going on. And then your agent calls you and goes, "Hey, such and such wants you to come over here and play." And then you kind of run the numbers, like, to make sure you can buy the flights, get the hotel room, this, that, and the other. And you're like, "Yeah, okay." Then next thing you know, you're like, "Hey, can we string together, leave on a Thursday, play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come home on a Monday?" And then you get to sleep in your own bed. You get to be home with the family. You were only gone for the weekend. It's kind of nice when you can do that. A lot of bands do it, more bands than you would realize. You know, some bands don't, they do a lot of these corporate shows or whatever, and you don't even hear about them, but they're gone weekends, you know. But it's it's actually a lot of fun because I like to be home but I also I love being on the road. I love seeing new places. I love meeting new people. And of course I love playing, you know, I love performing. So you kind of duck and weave. But that being said, we are gearing up for some tours. We're going over to the UK with Bowling for Soup. That's a 2-week or 3-week tour. Nothing that bad. And then we're gearing up for a tour over here, I think in May. So we are going to be going out, and we play every single night. I mean, we're not opposed to doing that. You know, we're not that old.
I didn't know about you being a photographer by trade. That's very interesting, and I'm looking forward to digging into any work of yours I can find. But I always got the vibe that you were the business guy in the band. You were the one who dealt with management and did the numbers. Am I correct?
No, Jeremy's always been kind of the business guy in the band. I do some of the business. You know, I'm there next to Jeremy. On the road, I've collected money on the road. I've done, you know, counted in merch and done all that kind of stuff here and there, but not all the time. But I do some stuff behind the scenes. Absolutely. We had a video for Fast that I did, and it actually went to #1 on CMT of all things, which was really weird. But I did that video with my buddy Kevin Garcia, and that felt good, you know, to watch it. My son is in the video. My mom and dad is in the video. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, I mean, not to get too far off of Lit, but I am a photographer. I did one of Eddie Van Halen's last photo shoots, was me. I shot him for a bunch of magazine covers for Europe and England. Most recently, I just shot all the new photos for Night Ranger.
Your old buddy Kerry's band. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I shot them for 2 days, one in LA and one at the Salton Sea. George Lynch, I've shot a million times. If you watch Dawkins' most recent video with the original members, the very beginning of the video is me shooting them. So it was pretty awesome. So
wow. Okay. Well,
yeah.
You've organically mentioned Van Halen twice. I may or may not be working on a book about David Lee Roth. And one of the things you mentioned was Bill Gazzari endorsing you guys like he did David Lee Roth and Van Halen. Did you guys have any run-ins on the Strip with David Lee Roth? Because he was around even when he was still famous.
No, not on the Strip, but Ken Phillips actually booked us at VH1 one day, and he knows what a huge Van Halen fan I am. And David Lee Roth did the first part of the day, and we came in and did the second part. So we crossed paths, and we were able to meet him and shake his hand and everything. And then I met him another time. I went and partied next to his bus at the Gibson Amphitheater here in Universal City. And it was on the Sammy and Dave tour, but I got to hang out with Dave there. That was really cool. And I actually got my photo with him, and it actually became a full-page pinup in Metal Edge magazine of all things. So it was pretty rad.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so everything that I'm hearing, it sounds like you got to meet all of your heroes and work with all your heroes for the most part.
For the most part, I have. I really have. I mean, the Eddie Van Halen photo shoot was 3 hours long, just me and him. I put his wife to work because she could make him laugh and smile, and he liked that engaging aspect of it, and he was super awesome to work with.
Was that the Golf Digest spread that he did?
No, these again, it was for EVH brand gear so his guitars and his amps, but it was him holding all that stuff. And so I did the photo shoot with that, but it was used for all these magazines throughout Europe and England, and then Japan even. So I have them all at home, and dude, every time I bought one of the guitars that he used in the photo shoot, and it was on like 3 of the covers. So I have that guitar.
Wow. Well,
yeah,
hey,
dude, hit me up through Ken. I shot David Lee Roth in Bakersfield right before the pandemic hit, and I got some amazing live shots. If you want any for your book, hit me up.
That is beyond kind of you. Thank you so much. And the last question, be mindful of your time because everyone wants to speak to Kevin today. The last question is, when I think of Lit, I've showered you with a lot of praise and compliments and all that. And in the process of that, name things like playing Madison Square Garden and having the MTV hits and being around for 20 plus years and being relevant per se. But is there something that you look at as the biggest accomplishment of all for you and for Lit?
Well, I've already touched on it. And like I said, when I hang out with Jeremy and AJ and we're having more of a quiet moment. It's not chaotic and we're not looking for breakfast on the road or whatever. I'll mention to those guys how proud I am of us sticking together. We do have a very long story that dates back 10 years prior to Lit making it. You know, for 10 years we were on the road, or not on the road. We were in Southern California trying to make it, you know, and we went to junior high together. We went to high school together. We have a long, long story, and I am really proud of us for staying together. And like I said, it's been tough, but nothing is easy. Nothing great comes easy, you know. And we're not the biggest band in the world, and we're not the best band in the world, but we're a band that has longevity, and you can count on that. That's if there's one thing we have to offer, it's that we're gonna stick around as long as we can, you know. And so, I'm proud of that. I'm very proud of that.
So you're a more successful Trixter.
Yes. Yeah.
Love to Steve Brown, of course. But Kevin, thank you so much for your time. We'll get
this. Got it. Thanks for having me.
A good amount of time, and best of luck with everything.
Outrocast.